Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here, targeting the 4-game NBA main slate on Monday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before I jump into the breakdown, I just want to say thank you guys again for all support. Currently, right now, at 4.43 thousand subscribers. Going to try to hit 5K by the end of the month. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, but if you guys enjoy all the free content, it is all free content. The easiest way to support me is please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button in the video so more people can see it, and hit that notification bell just so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. Also, if you cannot watch the YouTube videos, I upload on Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. It's just the DK DFS show. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we get into the players and the prices for this 4-game slate, what we can do is look back at my lineup here from Sunday. So Sunday, what a crazy slate it was. Well, I told you guys that if Luka Doncic was playing, that I was going to play him because I loved him for GPPs. I stressed, like, this is the lowest owned we will ever get Luka Doncic. Like, we're getting 5 to 10% owned, and we did. It was literally 5 to 10% owned, and I didn't play him. But, you know, I only have one lineup, so I was dead set. I was not getting off Caris LeVert because I had played in the last couple slates, and he had absolutely crushed it in the first half and then kind of fell apart in the second half. Actually, the same thing happened here. He just had a bigger first half. He had like almost 50 fancy points in the first half. Finished with 57 fancy points through 3 quarters. He didn't come back in the fourth. With the Raptors guards, you had Lowry get injured, and then Fred VanVleet, 3 fouls in 6 minutes. DFS, you really want to pull your hair out sometimes. I tell you what, man. So I had a build. I was messing with the roster construction because after Luka news came out, I was trying to get him in. It was LeVert, VanVleet, Luka, and then I forget if it was Jokic or Jamal Murray. I don't know. I forget who it was, but I wanted to get one of those Denver guys. But then I would have had to play PJ Dozier at 3-2, and I would have had to play Landry Shamet. I mean, sometimes you gotta just risk it. I should have done it. Again, that's the I guess downside of only playing one lineup is you can only play so many guys. But yeah, I didn't get to Luka. I know a lot of you got to him because I was so high on play Luka. Like, we're getting him at low owned. I had at least probably 15, 20 people message me about Luka. So congrats, you guys are probably going to have a great night. I wish I could have squeezed him in, but I was just dead set. I was not fading LeVert, and I was not fading one of the Raptors guys. Again, unfortunately, the Fred VanVleet foul trouble really killed me. And then I was really, I wanted to play those Denver guys because I knew they would be lower owned. So, yeah, I had a build there with Luka in it. I just would have had to play Dozier and Shamet. Should have pulled the trigger, but hindsight's 20/20. So that's it. It's probably not going to be a cash night for me because the Fred VanVleet, missing out in the whole first half really killed me. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think the ownership's going to be too high on these guys in late night, but that's a look back. I know a lot of you guys played Luka, so congrats. Hope you guys all had a big night there. And then also, I didn't even mention the Porzingis late scratch. Obviously, that helped. I even tweeted about it. It's like, I love Luka for GPPs. Like, this is the lowest we're going to get on him. And then Porzingis gets scratched the other way around, right? Because it was Luka questionable going in. If you play Porzingis, I feel for you. That is just terrible luck. Yeah, just an overall crazy say. And Zubac, I really, really hate Doc Rivers. He's on the list. He is on the list. I don't play him. Plays 30 minutes. I play him. He plays 20 minutes. He came back in the fourth and played like 30 seconds, like early in the fourth, and Doc pulled him right away. Just shake my head, man. All right, well, yeah, that's enough for the tilting. That's enough. Let's take a look at this 4-game slate. So we got the Bucks Magic. It's a 225.5 over under. Bucks are 13.5 point favorites. Again, obviously blowout risk here. Aaron Gordon has not played yet in the series. He's been questionable all 3 games. We'll see. Right now, I assume he's not going to play, but we don't know that for sure. Rockets Thunder is a 220 over under. Rockets 3.5 point favorites. Pacers Heat's a 216.5 over under. Miami are 6.5 point favorites, and Lakers Blazers a 224.5 over under. Lakers are 7.5 point favorites. So, looking at the slate before I get into the breakdown, it just seems like there is not a lot of great value. So I think your cash game build is going to be the balanced approach. We'll talk about a lot of plays I like for balance. Right, Brogdon's going to be really popular again. The 2 Miami guys, I like the OKC guys. Like, I think that's how you're going to go about a cash game lineup. Just because there's not a lot of great value. Like, obviously, I like getting to Harden, Giannis, and the Lakers guys, but you're going to have to sacrifice a lot. So let's start with center. And Anthony Davis at the top at 10.5. You get him at a nice discount off of Harden. You get him at a $500 discount there off of off of Giannis Antetokounmpo. What's LeBron's price? You get $300 discount off of LeBron. It's an amazing matchup here. There is a little bit of blowout risk. The game did blow out there in Game 2. I mean, I love the matchup. He's the cheapest of those stud guys, so I do like Anthony Davis a lot. There's really not a lot of downside to say about any of the stars, those 4 stars I mentioned. It's just, what do you have to sacrifice to get them in? It might be a lot. So, messing around with my builds, like, I feel more confident with the balanced build. We'll see. Maybe value opens up, but that's kind of how it's going right now. I do like Anthony Davis a lot if you can get to him. Vucevic at 9.1. So like I mentioned the previous slate, if you're going to play Giannis, I think it makes sense to play Vucevic. Now, it actually didn't work out totally there because only had 32 fancy points. It was DJ Augustin, who I actually played, had a really, really good game. But I would say most of the time, like in Game 1 and Game 2, if the Magic keep it close like they did, we're going to see a big game for Vucevic. So not every time, but I would say most of the time, like if Orlando does keep it close, it's going to be because of Vooch. I think it makes sense if you're going to play Giannis to run it back with Vooch. You don't have to, but I think it makes sense for roster construction purposes. I honestly don't know how Orlando has stayed in these games. Like, I really think Milwaukee blows them out. I thought Milwaukee was going to blow them out last game. They did. They're up like 30, and then Orlando came back, so the starters played in the 4th, which is pretty tilting. I'm not going to get to Vooch for cash. Obviously not a cash play. Maybe a GPP play to run it back with Giannis. Nurkic is an easy fade. As much as I love playing Yusuf Nurkic, it's just still, the price is just not moving on him. I'm not paying almost $9K for Yusuf Nurkic. Bam Adebayo, once again, really like him. But I do want to mention, Goran Dragic being in the starting lineup is actually affecting Bam and Jimmy Butler a bit. Because normally it was Kendrick Nunn in the starting lineup, and he wasn't a guy that was going to do a whole lot offensively. So the offense really did run through Bam and Jimmy when just the starters were out there. Now, Goran Dragic is a high-usage guy, and he's a really good basketball player. He's a good scorer, too. He can do it all. So it is affecting the upside a little bit on Bam and Jimmy, but I still love the price. It's just the minutes that worry me a little bit. Like, why are we only getting 32, 33 minutes out of Bam and Adebayo in playoff games? I know they're up 3-0, but I feel like he should be up to 38 minutes. So we're not going to get the massive minutes out of Bam, but I still love the price. Him, Jimmy Butler. Again, I think the balanced approach is the safer approach, and those two guys really, really stand out. I think they're going to be very popular, both Bam and Jimmy, and Malcolm Brogdon, who we'll get to because of the massive game last time, and people will just, again, chase the big games. I don't think going back to Brogdon, that was a bad idea. Brogdon was the guy I mentioned, the only guy in the Pacers I liked last slate, and he went for 70. It really hurt me not having him because I wanted to pay up for Harden. But yeah, I love Bam at 7.6. I think he's one of the top point per dollar plays. Miles Turner, it doesn't make sense to me to get to Turner when I could just pay a little bit more from Bam. Turner's a guy that literally has to get you there with if he has 5 blocks and a couple steals, then he can get you there. But I'm just not relying on that. I would rather get to Bam Adebayo, just the better play in my opinion. Now, Steven Adams, this is actually pretty big news. He bruised his knee and did not return. It was late in the game, but we'll see. If Steven Adams plays at 5'7", I'd like him. He played 35 minutes that last game. Not sure. I don't know when he got injured, whether it was in overtime or was it before it. But Billy Donovan is pretty. He's going to play Steven Adams, so he's not going to go small ball. It looks like, but if Steven Adams is out, then that could open up some stuff, right? I think Gallinari looks a lot better. They use Gallo at the 5 to close the game. Possibly a Nerlens Noel value play, maybe Baisley. So this could open up some value here for OKC. Jeff Green's at 5'4". So I mentioned last slate I was getting to Harden and Eric Gordon. The other guy I would have considered was Jeff Green. He's shooting the ball unreal. I don't know if I can get myself to pay 5.4K for Jeff Green. Now, he's getting huge minutes. 37, 38 minutes. He is overtaking Robert Covington for sure. He is just nailing the threes. I do not think he continues to shoot like 80% from three. So I'm fine with Jeff Green. He would be the third guy I would consider on Houston. Obviously, with Harden, Eric Gordon, then Jeff Green. I don't know if I can pay $5.4K for Jeff Green. Brook Lopez is at 5'2". I'm probably going to pass. He's a scoring-dependent center. He has to hit the threes. The upside is there when knocking down the threes, but he shot the ball 7 of 10, right? He shot 7 of 10 last game. He shot the ball 8 of 12 2 games ago, had 29 fantasy points, 7 of 10, and 25 fantasy points. So he is not doing a whole lot besides scoring the ball. Worries me at 5'2". I'm probably not going to do it. Whiteside's a guy I still have interest in at 4'8". Played 26 minutes, did get in some foul trouble early on in the game, so it might have missed out on a few minutes there. Had 20 fantasy points, which is not great, but not terrible. I still think he's a solid play. He's a good point per minute guy. When he's going to have his upside is when Nurkic is out. So whenever the 10 minutes or so that Nurkic on the bench, maybe a little bit more, that's when Whiteside can really have put up fantasy points. So on a slate that lacks value plays, if you consider Whiteside value at 4'8", I think he makes for a pretty decent option. PJ Tucker's at 4'2". There's no real great value plays. I guess he's in consideration. You're not going to feel good about playing PJ Tucker, ever. He literally has to hit his corner threes. If not, the floor is super, super low, even for a guy that can play 40 minutes. He played 44 minutes and had 18 fantasy points. I don't know what the math on that is. What is that, 0.33 fantasy points a minute? Not that low, but it's that is really gross. Now, Gary Clark, I do want to warn you, he played 35 minutes because of the James Ennis ejection. So if you played Ennis at last slate, I also feel for you. That is really, really tough. There's been some just really tilting stuff going on here with the NBA playoffs. The Porzingis ejection last week, the Ennis ejection, I didn't get to see it, but just terrible luck. We're not going to get 35 minutes out of Gary Clark. If Aaron Gordon's out, I think we get close to 30. The issue now, though, is the price is starting to get up there. 4.1K. I still think he's in play, but he's no longer a great value play. So it's a tricky one. Obviously, if Aaron Gordon plays, I have no interest in Gary Clark. So we'll see. I think he's okay just because the slate has no value, but he's no longer a really, really good value play. Olynyk's not getting the minutes. Baisley, so this potentially he could be a value play if Steven Adams is out. I wonder, do they start Baisley at the 5 or Noel at the 5? If whoever does, if Adams is out and either Noel or Baisley starts at center, you're going to want to play that whoever starts as a value option for sure. I think it would be Noel, but you never know. Could be Baisley. His minutes have been down, but I think, obviously if Adams is out, the minutes would have to go up on him. Howard and McGee, again, there's no real great value plays. We're going to get 15-ish, 15 to 18 minutes out of these guys. I think he's fine. McGee's a good point per minute guy. Noel, again, this could potentially be really good value if Steven Adams is out. Only played 13 minutes the last game. I think would have to play 20 plus if Adams is out, and he's a good point per minute guy, even though he didn't do great last game. So yeah, I would like Nerlens Law quite a bit if he starts. He would probably be the top value play of the day if Steven Adams is out. Again, McGee at 3.6. You're gonna get 13 to 14 minutes out of him. He can get you there in that time, but that's all you're gonna get minutes wise. So again, I think he's fine, but he really has to be good in those minutes. I'm not going to get to Markieff Morris. Kem Birch, I didn't mention him as a sneaky value play last slate. He went for 20 minutes and 22.5 fantasy points. And obviously, again, the Ennis ejection helped. He played a bit alongside Vooch, which was good to see. Kem Birch is a solid point per minute guy, but I think obviously Ennis is going to play. So I think we probably don't get as many minutes, maybe 15-ish minutes from Kem Birch. So he's a riskier value option, but not completely out of play. I think that's it, though, for center. So let's move on to power forward. Giannis at the top at 11-1. It's just a risky target, right? Because there's a really good chance this game balls out. I honestly don't know how Orlando has stayed close and even won that first game in the series. If Aaron Gordon is out, I really do think Milwaukee runs away with this one. So the risk is obviously that if Orlando can somehow keep it close like they have the first 3 games, then the upside is massive with Giannis. But like I said with Anthony Davis, what do you have to sacrifice to get him in? There's not a lot of great standout value plays right now. And I'm passing on Nurkic. I'm not getting to TJ Warren. Again, for me on the Pacers, it's Malcolm Brogdon, and that's it. I'm not getting to anyone else. Aaron Gordon, again, has been listed questionable the last 3 games, has not played. I don't think he'll play again, but we'll see. If he does play, I think he would be fine in the mid-range. Obviously, the hamstring injury would worry me, but 6'7" would look pretty decent for a guy that would, have to do a lot for Orlando. Gallinari, so this is kind of dependent right now on Steven Adams. If Steven Adams is out, I think they would start either Noel or Basley at the center position, but I think they would run a good amount of Gallinari at the 5. And if that's the case, that's a big boost for him. So Gallo's a guy that I'm fine with cash games if Steven Adams is in, because not a guy that has enormous upside, but I think the upside could be there if he's playing the center a lot. So I think he's fine if Adams is out. I think he'd make for a better play, a pretty solid play. Or he's fine if Adams is in. I think he'd make for a better play if Adams is out. I'm not getting to Rocco. That could be one of the easiest fades of the day. The minutes are just going way, way down. 27, only 19 that last slate. Jeff Green is playing really well. There's just no way I'm paying 6-1 for Robert Covington. Melo had a good game last game, I know. After the 2 fantasy point game, goes for 41. But you got to do a little bit of digging here. So he had 4 steals and 1 block. We are not going to get that again. So just take all those away. That's 10 fantasy points. He has 31 fantasy points, which is just okay. So, yeah, I prefer other plays in the mid-range. The Miami guys for a little bit more. Brogdon for a little bit more. I prefer Dragic. I prefer the OKC guys. I'm just not going to prioritize Melo as a play in the mid-range. I'm not getting to Kuzma either at 5'6". The minutes are down for him. I think he is also one of the easiest fades of the day. DANILO House is viable at 5K. The minutes are, I didn't think he was going to continue to play those type of minutes, but 38 and 42 minutes. I'm sure 42 the game was in overtime, but if he's going to play 38 minutes, I think he's in play. Now, he's actually got to hit those threes. I think, 10 rebounds, again, that's more of an outlier. Not a guy that's going to get you a lot of rebounds most of the time. I know he's gotten 9 and 10 rebounds in back-to-back games, but that's kind of how he's gotten you there, so I'm probably not going to do it for DANILO House. James Ennis, I know we got ejected last game, screwed a lot of people over. If Aaron Gordon is out, we're going to get 25 to 30 minutes out of James Ennis. With him now and Gary Clark so close together, price points, I would prefer James Ennis. James Ennis is a slightly better offensive player compared to Gary Clark. So if you're going to make me pick one of those Magic wing value plays, it's going to be James Ennis over Gary Clark. I like Crowder for value at 4-2. This slate has very, very little value. He's been questionable the last 3 games. I'm not concerned. We're going to get somewhere between 25 to 28 minutes from him. He's a guy that can do it all, right? He can get you rebounds. He can get you a few assists. He can knock down some threes. So I think he's solid, right? He did have somewhat of a floor game that first game, only 14, but 27.5 in back-to-back games. And this slate really doesn't have much of any value. So I think Jay Crowder is a pretty good value option right now. And that's really it. A couple people asked me about Jakar Sampson last slate. I said, don't do it. He played 10 minutes and had 5 fantasy points. If you ask me about him again, I will say, do not play him. Do not play Wendy and Gabriel either. They started Whiteside over him. And that's it for power forwards. Let's talk about small forward. LeBron James at 10-8. The same exact analysis I have with Anthony Davis. I love him. It's a great matchup. What do you have to sacrifice to get him in there? You're going to have to sacrifice a decent amount. If you feel comfortable with the value, enough value on the slate to get him in, then go for it. But right now, the cash build is balanced, for sure. That's the safe option. Let's see, Jimmy Butler at 8-1. I like him quite a bit. I like him, Bam, and Adebayo a lot. 37, 38, and 37 minutes. He's a do-it-all guy, which I love. Sure, the price is slowly coming up on him, but I just think he's a safe play. So I like Jimmy. I like Bam. I like Goran Dragic. We'll talk about in a bit. Chris Middleton at 7-9. I'm just not doing it. I would rather get to Bledsoe. I talked about Bledsoe being my favorite point per dollar play for the Bucks last slate. He finally had a good game, even in somewhat limited minutes. You're just not getting a discount on Chris Middleton for me to get to him at a blowout risk, too. In my opinion, there's just no way I'm getting to Chris Middleton. Again, passing on TJ Warren. Gallinari, I do have interest in. Oladipo, I'm going to pass, too. It's basically Malcolm Brogdon And that's it. And the reason why I like Malcolm Brogdon so much is just because the assist numbers are so, like, he has that high floor, which I talked about. But, you know, now we're going to get huge ownership on Brogdon after that big game, which does worry me a little bit. Gordon is now at 6K. So this is, I think he's priced about right now. Like, we got him at nice discounts there at below 5K and then 5.1. 6K feels about right for him because he's a scoring-dependent guy. He is the number 2 in the offense, but do I want to pay 6K for Eric Gordon? I honestly feel more comfortable about some other guys in his price range. I feel more comfortable about some of those OKC guys, like probably Gallinari and Schroeder. I feel more comfortable about with a guy like Goran Dragic. I feel more comfortable with a couple like Eric Bledsoe probably. So I'm not going to get to Eric Gordon at 6K. I just think he's priced about right. Again, I'm passing on Melo. I'm not getting to Kuzma. That's a really easy fade. Duncan Robinson's at 5.1. He'll play somewhere around 25 minutes. It's just you're not getting him at a discount. You know, I liked him at 3.9. At 5.1, I'm going to pass. Like, he has to hit his threes. He can still get you there if he's knocking him down, but I'm not doing it. Ross at 4.9. Him and Fournier are almost identical plays to me. Both are, I mean, look at that stat line, right? 20 points and 1 rebound, and that's it. He is literally, that's all he's going to do is score the ball. He had a decent shooting day, too. If he is not shooting the ball well, like, the floor is super, super low. And he did only play 23 minutes the last game, which does worry me. So I'm going to pass on Terrence Ross. Justin Holiday's at 4.2. You know, the minutes have actually been solid on him. 32, 29, 32. I don't think he's out of play just because there's not a lot of great value options. And if you're going that stars and scrubs approach, right? So if you want to jam in one of those Lakers guys or Harden or Giannis, then you're going to have to play guys like this. I don't feel great about Justin Holiday, but if he gets 30-ish minutes, he's fine. I'm probably not going to play him, but I get it if you do it. I'm going to pass on Pat Connaughton. I know he had that big game 2, was it? But in between those games, there was an 8 fantasy point game and a 9 fantasy point game, so I think that 40 fantasy point game was more of an outlier. I'm not getting to Dort either at 4K. Well, I shouldn't necessarily like cross him off just because there's not a lot of great value. He did play 36 minutes, I guess 31 regulation, but still, he's out there for his defense. He did have 3 blocks too, a little bit more of an outlier. So I think I like the other value a little bit more. Like I probably prefer a guy like James Ennis to Dort. I probably prefer Jay Crowder to Dort. So I'm probably not going to do that. Danny Green and KCP are fine value options actually. They have to hit their threes. If they're not hitting their threes, the floor is super, super low. But they did get 32 for Danny Green, and how many minutes for KCP? 28. They're both under 4K. I think they're fine because there's really no great value. So I'm actually okay going to one of those guys. Just know the risk. If they're not hitting their threes, they have a floor of like 5 fantasy points. I'm not getting to Macklemore at 3.6. No, not going to get to Diallo. Iguodala's at 3.5 really has been struggling, like producing any fancy points in the first 3 games. The minutes have been there though, 25, 28, and 28. He is just a shell of his former self, and he cannot shoot the ball. He's just out there for his defense, and he's not even a great defender at this point in his career. So, not a lot of people are going to play him. He is cheap. I mean, the minutes will be there. I guess he's okay. I'd probably feel more comfortable with a guy like Jay Crowder for a little bit more. And that's it. Waiters and Smith. I don't think Waiters played that last game. No, he did not. I think J.R. Smith played a few minutes, but those are not guys you can consider. Weston Mundo did get some extra minutes because of the Ennis injection. I'm not going there. That's it. So let's talk about shooting guard. Harden at 11.7. Man, was that ever tilting? So I get the Harden. What was he at 15% owned last night? I get overtime. Yes, finally. Like I finally catch a break. He fouls out right away in overtime. I mean, 5 extra minutes of Harden there. He could have went for 7. Like, oh man, I saw that and just like immediately just put my phone in my pocket. Didn't look at it for like a while. Like, whew. Yeah, he's at 11.7. I love his upside still with no Russell Westbrook, but he's the most expensive play in the slate, and there's not a lot of great value. So once again, I think Harden will go low owned. Like, it's crazy to think about, but you're going to get like a 10% owned Harden on this slate with no Russell Westbrook. So if you can find a way to get him in there, I love it because like this is the lowest owned I think you will ever get James Harden. Like I talked about Luka today. You got Luka literally like 5% ownership. You're going to get Harden at like 10% ownership on the slate. So if you can find a way to get him in there, I love it, because he really hasn't had a massive game so far. Like, he was solid last game, went for 61 plus, but like the upside with him is 80 plus. So he has not been shooting the three well. Maybe this is the game where he finally shoots it well, or 3 of 13 from 3, 2 of 11. So I like him a lot. It's just, there's not a lot of great value plays. McCollum's at 7-7. Did have 51 fancy points the last game. I'm going to pass. I like the other guys in the mid-range more. Like, I'm more comfortable with Jimmy Butler. I'm more comfortable with Bam Adebayo. I'm more comfortable with Malcolm Brogdon, Goran Dragic, the OKC guys. So CJ McCollum at 7-7 is an GPP play. Like, the upside is there, but I like those other. I feel more comfortable with the other guys. SGA, this is a tricky one. Played 48 minutes. Now, sure, overtime, so 43 minutes, though, at SGA. 43 minutes. If we're going to get 43 minutes out of him again, I like him. And he did have, filled up the stat sheet more that last game. He had been kind of scoring dependent with those first two stat lines, right? 9, 4, and 1, and then 31, 6, and 2. But this last game, 23, 7, and 6. So it's a tough one. OKC is always kind of tough for me to break down because they have like 4 guys that are pretty consistent with CP3, SGA, Schroeder, and Gallo. It's just, trying to figure out which one's going to have the good game is tricky, right? So I do have interest in SGA. I think the ownership will go up on him a lot after that last game. So, yeah, I'm a little bit undecided right now on what I want to do with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, I'm going to pass on Oladipo. I like Schroeder, too. I wish I got that 46 fantasy point game when I played him the game before, and he had 25. But yeah, I think all of those main OKC guys I like in the mid range: CP3, Schroeder, SGA, and Gallinari. It's a good matchup against Houston. Even though the games have been somewhat, they haven't been able to hit their shots, right? So not super high scoring. It was 119 to 107. The game went to OT. But yeah, I like all 4 of those OKC guys. Tyler Hero's at 5-5. I think he's solid, but I would prefer getting to Dragic for a little bit more, or pay a couple extra $1,000 for guys like Jimmy and Bam Adebayo. So I'm not saying Tyler Hero's out of play. If he's like your last guy in your lineup, I'm perfectly fine with it. He's going to come off the bench and play 30 to 35-ish minutes. He will shoot the ball when he's out there, too. He's not afraid to shoot it, so I'm fine with Hero at that price. Fournier has been a guy that's been popular, like the last 3 slates, and he's been continued a letdown, 20, 24, and 17 fantasy points. He is literally the exact same player as Terrence Ross. He has to hit his shots. If not, the floor is low. So, sure, the ownership will drop in him, I think, after letting a lot of people down in like the first 3 games. I'm probably not going to do it. Like, I feel more comfortable with plays for a little bit more. Yeah, I'm not going to get to Ross either. Gary Trent Jr., I've told you guys, like, it's the same thing. Like, he literally has to hit his threes. If not, super low floor. Look at the last 3 games: 7, 11, and 10 fancy points. I'm not doing Gary Trent even at 4-5. Do not play Kendrick Nunn. He is not in the rotation. I mentioned Justin Holiday, potential value. Aaron Holiday at 4-1. The minutes aren't as high in him. He's a better point per minute guy than Justin Holiday. I would feel more comfortable if I knew Aaron Holiday was getting 30 minutes than Justin Holiday. So it's a tricky one. If you're going to make me pick between the Holidays, might lean towards Justin just because the minutes have been higher on him. Caruso's the last guy I'll mention. We do have Rondo doubtful, had some back spasms. He had a good game that last game, 27 minutes, 27 fantasy points. I think it's more of an outlier for him, but there's really not a lot of great values. So we're going to get somewhere between, I would say, 20 to 25 minutes from him. He will run the point at times. It's a good matchup, obviously, against Portland. I think he's playable for value. I think he is. I'm not getting to Wes Matthews. And that's really it for me. So let's finish it up with point guard today. Lillard's at 10-9. I just can't do it. Did have 51 fancy points and not the best shooting day. I would rather get to the Lakers. If I was going to spend up for a star in this game, I would just feel way more comfortable getting to LeBron and AD. Now, that's not saying Lillard is out of play for GPPs. Like, he's going to be low owned too, but he may be a late slate play. I can't prioritize him on the main slate. Chris Paul's at 8K. he had a slow start to the game, kind of got bailed out because of OT, went for 45 fantasy points. He is the most expensive of the guards. I still think he's solid. Like, he's going to play 36, 37 minutes. He's a guy that, does do more than scoring, right? He'll get you the rebounds, the assists. And then when he is scoring the ball, can have a pretty high upside game like he did the first game where he went for 51 fantasy points. Obviously, it's a revenge game. I do like CP3. I think getting exposure to one of those main Thunder guys is probably a safe approach. Pair him with probably one of those Miami guys, and maybe Malcolm Brogdon, kind of giving you guys a cash game build. But that's the way I think it's setting up for on the slate. Brogdon, yeah. So he was the one Pacers guy I mentioned that last slate that I liked. He went for 43 minutes and 68 fantasy points. We're not going to get that again for Malcolm Brogdon. And the ownership is going to jump on him significantly. He was already high owned, but it's going to be really high today or tomorrow. I think he's a good option just because, again, the assist numbers are there. 10, 9, and 14. He'll get your rebounds. He's a do-it-all guy. And when he's scoring the ball like he did that last game, the upside is massive. So I do like Malcolm Brogdon. My one concern really for him is just the ownership's going to be really high in him in GPPs. But I think starting your lineup with Brogdon, one of those Miami guys, and then probably one of those OKC guys is the way that I would go for cash games. I do like Dragic too. It's even at 6'5". He has really stepped up since been inserting into the starting lineup. The minutes have been there too. This is not the Goran Dragic we're getting in the regular season where he came off the bench and played 25 minutes. He's starting and he's playing 35 minutes a game. And he's a do-it-all guy, too. The assists are there. He'll get you some rebounds, and he can score the ball. So I like Goran Dragic, even at 6'5". You could definitely play Dragic with Jimmy. Could you play all three? I think you could, but you would probably need overtime. Maybe. I think all three might have been in the winning lineup last slate. I forget. But, yeah, I think you definitely can play two of those Miami guys for sure. It's a good matchup for them against the Pacers. I mentioned Schroeder. Bledsoe was the guy I liked the best for Milwaukee last slate. Went for 26 minutes and 37 fantasy points. The issue with him is just the minutes, right? Even in games that have stayed close, only 26 to 28 minutes. So he's a solid point per minute guy, but I would probably feel a little bit safer getting to a guy like Goran Dragic for a little bit more. So I'm not saying Bledsoe's out of play. I still have interest, but it's just the minutes are the only concern with me, and obviously the blowout risk potential too. Now, Fultz and Augustine, I know a lot of people went to Fultz last game. I played DJ Augustine. Fultz has been higher owned the last two slates. I think he's going to be really low owned this slate after letting a lot of people down that last slate. So I think he makes for an interesting contrarian play. The minutes will be close to 30 on him. If Aaron Gordon is out, he will have to do more offensively. Whereas I think DJ Augustine, where I've gotten him at low ownership in game one, I got him at really low ownership last slate for 36.75 fantasy points. But I think the ownership will jump on him. So both are similar plays. DJ Augustine's been better the last 3 games. So the ownership will be higher on him. I think they're both solid options. They're no longer really cheap, right? I think the first slate, you had DJ at 3.5 and Fultz at 4.2. We're not getting them at amazing discounts, but I would feel more comfortable getting to Fultz or Augustine than a guy like Ross or Fournier, just because the floor is higher on Augustine and Fultz because the assist numbers are at least there. Whereas Fournier, or with Fournier and Ross, if they are not hitting their shots, the floor is super, super low. Let's see. George Hill's at 3.9. Did only play 19 minutes, which is a little bit worrisome. So I'm probably going to pass. I need to see him play minutes in the mid-20s for me to consider him for value. Rivers, how many minutes did he play? Played 25. I think did get in there at overtime once Harden fouled out. So I'm not going to do Austin Rivers. I think Simons did get in the rotation. But yeah, not enough for you to consider him. Rondo is doubtful, so don't play him. That's really it for the slate. So as you guys can see, there's not a lot of great value options. So that's why it's going to be tricky to get those stars in there. I think the safe build is that balanced approach. And there's a lot of guys I mentioned, the guys I like in the mid-tier. So I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you're enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell just so you know when I go live. I'll be live streaming 30 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check out the live stream, guys. I will go over all the news that we have so far. The big news, obviously, is Aaron Gordon, which we will get because it's the first game of the slate, which is nice. I'll give you guys cash plays, which will be the balance approach, GPP plays, and then answer any questions you guys have at the end. So thanks again, guys. I hope you guys all have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the live stream.